Hi. Are we going on now? Yes, we are. Sorry, everyone. We're too busy admiring that amazing work. Hi. My name's Kinvara Balfour, and this is Jens Grede from Saturday Group. We also were going to have his business partner, Erik. Sadly, Erik is sick, so he can't join us, so we have just Jens, and that's fine, because he has so much to say.
Well, first I want to apologize, because no one comes to see Victor without Rolf, and no one says Laurel without Hardy, so I really feel sorry for you guys having to just see me.
Well, we wish him all to get well soon. I know you guys have had a really, really busy day. Before we talk about where you're at now, and I would just like to say that Jens has billboards all over the city with his Frame Denim brand, which we've just seen the video of. I want to go back to where you started, because what you guys doing, they are the power couple of fashion today. You are the stealth power couple. And I want you to explain a little bit about the conglomerate that you run and what it does and how it began, because it is revolutionary and it's taking over the world.
Well, this is the question that I dread the most.
Good start.
Because you get asked, when you go for immigration coming to the US, they ask you what you do, and I have to make something up. And I say I'm in fashion marketing, and I ask to see my samples. I have no samples, so kind of go on. What we do, and what we've been doing for a long time, is to help brands connect with the consumer. I guess you're trying to make an emotional connection through images, through ideas, and that's what I've been doing since I was 18 years old, first starting in magazines, and then from magazines to an agency, and then back to magazines and an agency, and so forth, and now, in the last couple of years, as a brand owner and as a founder of a denim brand, Frame. So in my world, it's just a continuation of what I started. I'm still doing the same thing. I guess it's just taking different media.
So with Saturday Group, within that group, there are various different divisions. Wednesday, A&D, ITB, tomorrow. I tried to learn all of this.
We got rid of a couple of days of the week. It was getting a bit silly.
I'm sure they're on their way. I'm sure they're coming. But within that, what I think people don't really realize is that's covering basically every aspect of fashion, marketing, digital, sales, PR. And you guys oversee all of that.
That's right. Yeah.
So within each division, you're working with some of the biggest brands in the world. Mm-hmm. What are you actually doing for them? Let's use an example like Calvin Klein or H&M. What are you doing for them?
Well, we create some of the global advertising campaigns for H&M and Calvin Klein. So we create the image you guys see out there on billboards. We write and direct and create the commercials that you see on TV.
Okay. And you shoot some of those commercials yourself as well, right?
Some of them. But, we try to do whoever is most appropriate, and we're fortunate enough to work with some of the greatest models and best photographers and greatest directors, and working with some of these very, very big companies allows you to work with the people that you admire, and which is a fantastic experience. When you do your own brand, for example, it's kind of back to scratch. You have no money, and then when you work with Calvin or H&M or Cole Haan or Tory, whatever it might be, it just really allows you to be creative in a totally different way, and that's a really great experience.
So your own brand, well, you've launched two in the last couple of years. You've launched Frame Denim.
Yeah, I got hubris.
And Grace, little black dress company. Take us through Frame. How come Frame is now one of the most talked about denim brands, and it's been going for only 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, about 2 years.
We were talking before, and you were telling me how most of that has come simply through the power of social media, and I didn't really believe you, but just tell us a little bit about that.
I think 100%. Well, first of all, people say, how can you create a denim brand that in 2 years are in 500 or something stores and have poster campaigns around the world? But it didn't just happen. It's not you wake up and say, I'm going to do a denim brand, and then, you snap your fingers and all kind of done. It's the fruition of, I would say, career in fashion. It's using the relationship and knowledge and influence one has gathered to be able to do something, and then working with I got fantastic partners in the brand. They're doing an incredible job, and you know, it's a sum of everything, you know.
So you have already collaborated with the model Carly Kloss.
Yeah.
You've also just done a collection with the photographers Inez and Vinood. How does that come about?
Well, I think
you just pick up the phone. They're all your friends. They're friends. These guys' friends. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I think when we first launched the brand, we gave it to people that we knew. And of course, working where we work in the industry, you know a lot of people. So of course, you give the jeans to a lot of people, and luckily and thankfully they wear it. And we're extremely grateful to people like Miranda Kerr and Carly Kloss and Giselle and so forth for helping us out.
But when you're sending jeans to Giselle, for example, Giselle therefore is then doing what? You simply have to kind of chase all paparazzi photographs on the internet to find her in them, or she is actively tweeting and social media because she's friends with you. I mean, for us who don't really see how it works.
I guess it's a mix. Here's the thing. We're not the only people who know people. Like, you know, these women get everything sent to them. And while you, as a friend of anyone, people might wear it once to be nice to you, they don't wear it twice. And in the end of the day, you have to have a great product. But I'm very thankful for the support that those girls gave us early on with Frame, for sure. And then, you know, some people would tweet about it or Instagram about it. But we would never ask them to do it. But it's been 100%. It's the reason why Frame is where it is today.
It's literally Rihanna, Cara Delevingne, Giselle, Laura Stone, Miranda Kerr, and actually, as you say, they're all wearing them all the time. So when you're,
I mean, I don't know all of them, but
no.
I know some of them.
And with the Inez and Vinood collection, you're starting with menswear.
Well, you know, there's a lot of collaborations out there, and having done 2 collaborations, one should be careful with throwing stones in glass houses. But you have to have a purpose to doing a collaboration. What are you doing that's adding anything to your brand and to your collection? Because a lot of collaborations is just marketing. It's just working with someone to use their social following and using their star power to enhance what you're doing. They're actually really not doing anything new. And we did a Carly Kloss collection, and every denim brand has followed suit. It's been ridiculous doing a model collaboration ever since. There's been 6 model collaborations announced in the last 6 months. But they're missing the point. The Carly Kloss collaboration wasn't about Carly Kloss. It was actually about doing a product that was right for her. We wanted her to wear our jeans, but she's really freakishly tall. So she couldn't. They came up to here. I mean, it did not look right. So we had a couple of glasses of wine, and we were in Paris, and we decided that we should, do jeans that were a bit longer. So it was long jeans. I mean, it sounds like we're doing stuff for big and tall stores in the US or something, but you've got to be careful with that. We were actually in the New York Times in a story with big and tall. It's like people are doing like outside sizes. That wasn't that great. But so yeah, there's a product that's right for her that we would never have done without her.
Okay.
And we didn't necessarily knew that we admire their aesthetic. It's not our aesthetic. It's not what I would have done. But we think it's interesting to use Frame as a platform to try things that we wouldn't do ourselves.
And just tell us a little bit about Inez and Vinood, because you've worked with them a lot, and they've done a lot with Industrie magazine, which you founded, which we're going to talk about in a second. What's so special about them, and why have they kind of captured something in the zeitgeist?
I think they are maybe one of the greatest fashion photographers of modern times, of the last 20 years. And I think they have a high sense of integrity. They never sell out. And I don't think that their motivation necessarily is money. I think that their motivation is to create something beautiful.
Right. Okay, so Industrie magazine is, you guys also founded together. I don't know when you founded it. I should know.
We did, yeah. Yeah, we did.
When? how many years ago?
Good question. I would say maybe 4.
Okay. And Industrie magazine for me is, it's beautiful and informative. It's very, very original. It celebrates people in the industry, but it's not just for people in the industry, and that's what's so clever about it. But you're really singing the praises of some of fashion's more unsung heroes alongside the big stars. In a world where a lot of people say print is dead, I personally, when I pick up the magazine, I'm thrilled to feel that print is not dead because I relish it. It's like a book that I want to keep forever. Do you feel that print is dead, having launched a print publication? Or do you think it has a place for now?
I think that, okay, I'm not a nostalgic person. I don't collect vinyl. I don't collect books. I actually don't collect anything. But I don't think one have to look back and oh my God, I miss VHS. Nor do I think that if someone got rid of print, I would necessarily miss it. It's great content is great content. It doesn't matter what platform it takes. However, if you're consuming content, some content does very well to be consumed in print still. The longer story, the more in-depth interview is very gratifying in print. Whereas, as we know, no one reads news items in monthly magazines because at the time the monthly magazine had come out with it, you've seen it for the last 2 months. So it's old news and defeats the object of the media. So I think it's fine to do print. It serves us right. It's exclusive. It's hard to get to. You restrict your readership because you really have to go out and get it. And it values what you do. And what I think sometimes in digital media is it can devalue the content because it's too easily consumed. It doesn't cost me anything. I haven't made an effort to get hold of it. Hence, it's like things we get for free, we tend to discard, and things we pay for, we tend to cherish and keep. And so I think there's a role for print, just like I think there's a role for radio. But it's all specific. I don't want to see Howard Stern on America's Got Talent, but but I can listen to him on the radio. I mean, it's.
Yeah. And you guys were. I just want to talk about the blog conglomerate that you bought. So Erik and Jens, before everybody else valued the blog world, explain what you did with Derek Blasberg's Sea of Shoes and all of that. You took them, put them under one umbrella. Why and what?
Yeah, we did that together with Elin Kling, who is herself a blogger, and a guy called Christian, and
Brian Boy.
Yeah, Brian Boy came, but they were my partners, and then Brian Boy came on board, and Fashion Toast came on board, and later Anna Della Russo and Derek, and nowadays Sea of Shoes, Face Hunter, and a few others. But it was more kind of need-based. If you're Gucci, you're not trying to hunt down Brian Boy on a flight from Malaysia where he lived at the time. You're not trying to get hold of Elin Kling in Stockholm. It's not how multi-billion-dollar companies work. So we just saw an opportunity to start. It sounds really dull and boring, and it kind of is. We saw the opportunity to standardize, to put them in one platform, not from a consumer point of view, but from a back-end point of view. And standardized ad formats. So then we can go to Gucci and we can sell, you want to buy 3 million readers across these titles. And you look at, if you have 1 million followers, are you a blogger or are you a media? Cara Delevingne has 5.5 million Instagram followers. Is that her social following or is she becoming a media in her own right? My viewpoint is that these guys are media in their own right. And I saw, Derek is details, or, Elin might be Vogue, and Fashion Toast could be glamour, So we looked at these as titles, as with their own demographic, all catering to a fashion-conscious audience. And so I guess we became the publishing house of these guys.
And you basically...
It's actually an old media approach to a new media.
And you bundled them all together under one umbrella.
Yeah.
And then you actually then sold that umbrella to Condé Nast.
Yes, we did.
And that's long before everybody else was really valuing bloggers. And also I want to ask you, what makes a good blog? What stands out? Why would you take in under your umbrella Derek Blasberg, Anna Della Russo? What stood out for you?
Well, as my non-compete is up, and so I'm a very kind of honest person, I would say I think the blog in its form is dead. I think Instagram has replaced the blog. But I don't think that matters either, because there's platforms and there's behavior. So once upon a time I was on MySpace, and maybe now I'm on Instagram. But the behavior of sharing photos and ideas and what I'm doing with my friends and what my friends are doing with me, the behavior doesn't change. If you're on Netscape and now you're on, Chrome, does it matter? Your behavior hasn't changed. So I'm far more interested in behavior than I'm interested in platforms.
Okay, interesting. On the subject of Instagram, what other apps do you use and how do you consume information? I know you guys travel all over the world, the road warriors. How do you consume information? On a tablet, on your phone, or do you still pick up newspapers?
Well, I'm a total media junkie. So I do newspapers, iPad, my phone, my computer. I think when I wake up in the morning, I go through about, maybe 15 titles before I have coffee. I mean, I consume a lot of media, and I do it pretty quickly.
And what other apps do you love using?
Pardon?
What other apps are you using on your phone, aside from Instagram, which is less an app and more a way of life?
I don't use a lot of apps other than like Uber and Weather and xe.com, stuff like that everyone else in the whole world uses. I'm not an app guy. I think apps are too much work.
Okay.
You got to find them, download them, use them. I want to be in one place.
And are you playing any of those games like Candy Crush or whatever when you're on aeroplanes?
I do play Candy Crush.
Are you good?
No.
Because you guys...
I was thinking about saying I was pretty good, level 350, but no.
You travel a lot and you always hashtagging brother from another mother with Erik, who isn't here. I don't really feel his loss. Bless Erik. I'm not really feeling his loss. But what's the secret of success for a kind of working relationship that's gone on so long? You guys grew up in Sweden. You moved to, you now have offices. You're based in London, but you have offices in New York, London, LA, Paris, Milan.
Yeah.
And I really feel there's such a love between you, which is lovely to see.
Just to
you
make
feel
that clear.
very lost.
I feel like I'm missing something, like I'm sitting here naked and you guys go put something on. I don't feel right.
Okay, well, we'll blame that on Erik. He can come another time. But what is the secret of success to your relationship? Because you've built something so huge. Do you scream and shout at each other? Do you argue, or is everything symbiotic?
We used to have one argument every 6 months. Now we haven't had an argument for a good year and a half, so it's long overdue.
Long overdue, damn it! I wish
maybe
it's
coming imminently. Maybe
Okay.
I think I actually don't recommend anyone working with friends, and which sounds a little bit weird, but because I work with Erik and I work with friends. I don't like working with friends. I like working with Erik, and how did it work? Well, we started to work together, you see. We didn't know each other in Sweden. We knew we got to know each other as we came to London when we were 20 years old. So, and he didn't like me. He thought I was arrogant, like, as could be. I mean, he strongly disliked me.
Were you?
Absolutely. And I'm still fairly arrogant, even though I softened a lot. But no, I was so full of myself, and I didn't want to work where I worked. I was like almost upset that I got the job because I wanted another job, but they didn't want me. So I was like, my default setting was a bit pissed off, and I think maybe I was a little bit arrogant, maybe.
And how did you actually start, you two? Oh, yeah, I remember you were at Wallpaper with Tyler Brûlé.
Yeah.
What were you doing at Wallpaper?
Well, I thought I was working at Wallpaper, but when I showed up at my first day, having moved from Sweden to work at Wallpaper, he sent me upstairs to work at the agency Wink. And that's part of why I was so pissed off.
Okay,
I was like, what am I doing here? I never worked in an agency in my life. Okay. I was a magazine guy.
Fair enough. Was it fun working at Wallpaper? It was so iconic. It probably is still so iconic. But the landscape has changed. But it was very iconic. Tyler Brûlé was iconic for a certain time. Perhaps he still is.
I think that, we're going back to 96, early days of Wallpaper, when now you can make fun of that whole aesthetic and what it's about. But I think at the time, it was simply commercializing, I would say, commercializing his lifestyle. I mean, it really was a reflection of his. You lived with Tyler, you worked with Tyler, and whatever you did with Tyler ended up in the magazine. It was a pure mirror to his life and his aspirations. And nowadays, you find that kind of architect designed space, photo, story in New York Times or in the back of Marie Claire or on AOL, wherever. So a lot of the things that wallpaper did has been copied or taken in bits. But at the time, that didn't exist anywhere else. So yeah, that was interesting. But what was really interesting about the experience was that no one knew what they were doing. I mean, when you start working with someone when you're really young, you think they know everything. Now I think back, Tyler was 30 years old when I worked for him. So he knew nothing. And he knew, well, no one knew anything. So we were able to fail and learn from our mistakes and fail again. I mean, if I was him, I would have fired me 50 times over. I was awful. Erik and I did a campaign for Time magazine in Europe, which all read with white typography. It sounds familiar to you from The Economist. Our whole pitch was, but Time is the original news magazine. You guys own red. You own the color red. And the campaign went live. I was 21 years old. And the managing director of The Economist called up the guys at Time and said, thank you for this ad campaign. Wherever your advertising, sales of Economist is going up. So you shouldn't be able to do stuff like that.
Okay. So when you're overall, from everything you've learned, just to me talking about the fact that he didn't know anything or you might not know everything, what advice would you give, having launched everything you have? You've launched brands for other people. You've just launched your own brand. Also, you have launched Grace, which we haven't spoken about, which is a fashion line focused on the little black dress, affordable little black dress. Yep. So what advice would you give somebody who's starting out with that vision? What have been some of the hurdles for you? What would you not have done, or what would you do again and again and again?
This will sound very contrary, because I would always tell someone to focus on one thing. And I understand that I have not done that. So when you start saying you've done this and that, I feel embarrassed, because it sounds like I'm just some kind of scattergun running around doing stuff aimlessly.
But that's a really interesting thing I was going to ask you. So I think everyone in this day and age does have a lot of strings to their bow. And short of being a jack of all trades and a master of none, when you do come through the immigration place and they ask you to put something on a form, I think it's really hard. I think we have to create new words for multitasking. Would you call it a polymath? Would you call it a catalyst? Would you call yourself a strategist?
No, I think
there has to be a new word.
I think we're, both Erik and I, we are creatives, and he's very visually creative, and
he shoots half your campaigns. I forgot to add that. No one.
Yeah, he wouldn't be happy if you said that, but yeah, he does.
He shoots all the campaigns. I mean, everyone gives Karl Lagerfeld so much credit for shooting his campaigns, and suddenly I realised Erik's shooting all your campaigns. It's amazing.
I don't know. I think he finds it fun, but. What I would say is that it sounds like it's all really like different stuff, and in a way it is, but it's just different media of the same expression. You see, we have a very clear aesthetic, and Erik and I created a site for the Net-a-Porter group called Mr. Porter. We had an idea, and we came to them, and we sold that concept. And
you created Mr. Porter?
Right.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't know.
And if you think the people say, how do you come up with Mr. Porter, they just come from nowhere. Oh, no, it didn't. When I was 18 years old, I read a magazine called Arena on Plus. I was obsessed with Arena on Plus and Ashley Heath and Boris Benchik and all the people at that time. And that's all I could ever dream of. I thought to myself, if I could be an intern at Arena on Plus, I made it, I can go home to Sweden and roll over and die. So that was my starting point. That led me to another magazine in Sweden, which led me to the Wallpaper Group, which later led us to Art Direct GQ Style when that was founded but then we were art directing and we had something more to say, so we created a men's magazine called Man About Town. We set up Man About Town, and that did reasonably well. The magazine is still around today. But we felt that other people did it better. But the opinion that we then expressed in Mr. Porter is the same opinion that we've been developing for 14 years at that time. It's the same aesthetic. It's the same tone of voice. And if you look at the tone of voice of Mr. Porter and you go back to early days of Arena on Plus, you'll see that it's a very similar tone of voice. So a lot of things doesn't come from anything. And if you look at Mr. Porter and you look at Frame and you look at Industrie, all of a sudden the aesthetic is starting to look kind of familiar. It's so related. Our attitude to a photograph is very similar. Our attitude to copy and tone. There's such a strong, there's such a strong red thread throughout everything that we have done.
So creative as a word, does that feel enough for you? When you're asked what you do? Because I really think it's...
I don't think I need to. I don't think I need to impress anyone at U.S. Immigration. I'm trying to get through there as soon as possible.
Okay.
But
okay.
I don't really. I'm lucky enough that a lot of people know what I do, so I don't really have to explain myself too much. But
yeah.
I see myself as a creative, and I see someone who partners with great talent. There's this misconception sometimes that if you call yourself a designer, you sit there with a sketch pad. There are designers who do that. They're quite few. And there's designers that are hugely famous that has never touched a pen or paper, designed anything. I think Tom Ford famously said it's what he says yes and no to that defines the brand. And I think I'm lucky enough to know I've been able to find incredible people to work with. We announced today that Yale Breslin is the new editor-in-chief of Industrie. I have Nico and Josh at Frame in Los Angeles that are hugely talented at what they do. So it's a team effort. What I lend and what Erik lends to it is a taste, it's an opinion, it's a vision, and it's an experience. But I don't sit backstage doing a pair of jeans and I run up here and talk to you guys and then I run and take a photograph around the corner. So you've got to work with incredible people. And your team is everything. It's absolutely everything. And what I would say to anyone that I've met who works in a company is to value everyone around them, because from the girl in reception to the one paying your salary to the CEO that might be bugging you to come in on time or whatever it is, everyone has a purpose. Everyone is contributing and allowing you to do what you do. And it's when everyone respects each other, a team can sing. But if you lose the sense of your team spirit, there's nothing saving any company, any idea you have. If the team, I say this, that an A idea with a B team is going to be a C result. But a C idea with an A team can still be a great success. The team is everything.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Okay, we're going to open up now for some audience questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand, and someone will come with a microphone. Oh no, that was you. Anyone with any questions? We have kind of 5 minutes. Yeah, we have one at the front. Thank you. And you all have Industrie magazine, which I urge you to read because it's a Bible of our times. Okay.
Hi. It seems like you've worked with a lot of brands, and I wonder, looking back at your career, which has been the most challenging brand to work with and kind of get off the ground, and in that same light, which has been your favorite to work with, and what has that been like?
Erik and I like to work with brands where you can make an impact. And we're not snobbish about that. I think that when you create a campaign with Beyoncé for H&M, like Erik did, then that's a phenomenal experience, because you know that billions of people will consume what you have done directly or indirectly. I love doing things which has an impact in popular culture, even if it's only for a second. And I keep telling our clients, because I do two things. I work for other people. And most of my life I work for other people. And I tell my clients that don't try to drip feed. Don't try to do something now and think that in 1 week someone cares that we put out another image. No one looks at you. No one thinks about you. No one goes to sleep thinking about your brand other than yourself. What you should do is own a moment. Even if you own 1 hour on Instagram, it's better than owning anything else. Or trying to do media during months and months and months. What a great thing when you work with a big company is that you have the ability to create big moments in popular culture that no one in this room probably missed that Beyoncé did H&M. And that's the power of that engagement, and that is exciting.
That's fantastic. When you're sitting down getting Beyoncé for H&M, is there a dream list of people that you would like to work with, and do they change on an annual basis? Do we move that fast in the world today, or do you still think there are some major stars who carry that, who have that cachet?
I think that's a very difficult thing to answer. The list of people that can make an impact is surprisingly small. It's a very, very small list. And a lot of people on that list will have done numerous commercial engagement, which has maybe devalued their impact in the market. And when you talk about marketing, a lot of people think that it's smoke and mirrors. You're making something up. You're pretending. You're tricking people into buying stuff. There is that element to it, but it's never successful. That's the bottom line. It doesn't work. The audience out there does not have time. They don't pay you attention if you're trying to trick them. They see through it straight away. The marketing that works is what feels, and not feels, is believable. The Call It Close collaboration frame is great because we did something that worked for her. In the H&M example, if you're creating a music video and the music video is a piece of entertainment, I'm not taking 30 seconds of your time. I'm trying to give you a piece of entertainment for 30 seconds. I'm trying to give you something. And doing a music video for Beyoncé, which was the case, and then the music video is a commercial, right? It's believable because she does music videos. So we were doing a music video. The clothes happened to be from H&M, but they could be from somewhere else. So it's not a sense of like, we're going to tell you it's this, but it's really that. It's a question of taking something that is true in a company and lifting that up and showing it to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question, just there. Thanks.
So going off of that, when you think about like marketing campaigns, as a whole, what is one campaign that you've seen, it could be one that you've worked on or just anywhere else, that's really been like impactful and like stands out, and what was it about that campaign?
I wasn't involved in this campaign personally, but ITB, which is related to us, was. I think my Calvin's campaign for Calvin Klein was hugely interesting because it made Calvin relevant. And I think when
Can you just describe the campaign?
Well, it was basically they sent underwear to a large group of influential people, celebrities, musicians, and they were asked to take a selfie and hashtag my Calvins. And all of a sudden, Calvin seemed human and relevant and exciting. And I think when you work with a brand and you're still moved by something that brand does, and it's like your perception changes, even though you know who did it, I think that's phenomenal. So I really liked. But there's loads of good campaigns.
Thank you.
Not so much in fashion, though.
Not so much in fashion, really? What else, then? Cars?
I think that cars, I think there's, I think great campaigns that entertain you is I really believe it. If you take someone's time, you have to give something back every time in life. So it doesn't matter if it's just a flat image in Vogue or if it's a 30-second Super Bowl spot. You have to give something to the audience. And great advertising does that. It entertains you, or it's beautiful, or it gives you a sense of something. But no one should be able to take your time for nothing. They have to work harder.
I love this, so interesting. Okay, we have time for one more question. We have one here at the front. Sprint across. Thank you.
Hi. I was wondering, working for a younger brand, what marketing advice would you give to a younger brand who doesn't have a large pool of resources to use?
The stores are your marketing. Great stores are like great magazines. And the customer learns about you, discovers you, and forms their opinion about you depending on where you're sold. So limiting distribution, making sure you're in the right doors to start with, Don't be seduced by money in the first couple of years. That, I would say that's number 1, 2, and 3. And after that, I think today we buy things because, well, I was speaking to Kinvara about this earlier. We're so focused in what we consume today that when I was a kid in Sweden, there was like 4 TV channels and there was nothing on, so you had to learn about how pandas mate. And so I know a lot about that now. And I didn't choose to, but I was 12 and I had nothing better to do. But now you can really consume your verticals, so we tend to go for things we either already know of or things that are recommended to us. Recommended directly by a friend or recommended, or you guys know all of this anyway, it's like I'm preaching to the totally converted, or recommended by someone that you admire. So I think stores and social media, I wouldn't bother with advertising. That's a totally different game. PR is a different game. I think you build a social following, and traditional media follows social. It's not that social follows traditional.
On that note, I want to ask you, having worked across the board on all aspects, now that social media has become such a big part of our lives, has the need for PR for brands changed? In the olden days, you had to have a PR company in order to communicate with the press. They were the go-between. Now people can communicate directly with their consumer through social media. Do they need the press?
It depends on what you mean with press. If you talk about media being one person talking to many, or one entity talking to many, it's not just about having lunch with people, telling them to write a story. There's a kind of how people perceive PR. It's about creating ideas that can be spread. It's also about restricting, because today a lot of things are so accessible that there's no drama, there's no sense of, there's no myth building. Because a lot of brands today and a lot of young designers think we have to share everything. I have to show you, the process and where I eat, and this is my living room, and this is my dog Fluffy, and
here's my cupcake.
He loves the cupcakes. Fluffy just loves cupcakes. Can't have enough of them. But
Fluffy has his own Instagram page as a result.
Probably. And they think they have to share all of these things. But you're taking away the myth. The people that we admire the most are not necessarily, it's like you don't want to meet your heroes. You admire someone. I admired the skateboarder when I was young, and I had posters all over the wall of him, and all I wanted to be was like this guy. And when I was later, I'd go skating with him, and I found out he was a real nerd, and it actually really pissed me off. So I wish I never met him. It killed me. So I think you don't necessarily want to share everything. I think good PR is as much about spreading a message, is about managing and doing the right things, not everything.
Okay, so fascinating. Thank you so much. We have to wrap up. I'm staring at someone who's in charge. If we have one more question, let's have one more, because, yes.
Just one. If Erik was here, what would he say to us?
The exact same things. That's the benefit of having worked and lived with someone off and on, a holiday together, or my wife and his girlfriend's best friend. The benefit of that is that you're pretty aligned. So I feel confident he won't...
I think you've done him proud in his absence. I really do. Everyone, please thank Jens so much for coming to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. That was fantastic.
Thank you very much.